Sometimes with this knowledge, and these Moors ain't gonna tell you what they're gonna do. They're gonna tell you other shit. They're gonna tell you shit like study, 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 study. No doubt, no doubt. But that study, study, study shit, that's like on the Seinfeld episode when the nigga was like Serenity now. Remember we kept saying that? And then Kramer came to him at the end and was like, yo, I had to stop saying that. He said, the more you say that and the more things don't change, the crazier you gonna get. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes to really get ahead, you have to put the books down. That's real talk, man. This is what I've learned with this thing is that this is a divine and a national movement. The man was really serious when he said that shit. Well, I'm so glad he did it. Praise Allah. You know how many Moors I know that have been committed to the G building since they started this, not with me, but like Moors that I know who have been actually committed to the insane asylum? And I'm saying all of this to say that we have to not only are this we got it, we're in this, I think, because we're striving to get right. We're striving to get together. We're striving to get our thing together for our children. You know what I'm saying? So in the end, we are responsible for the level of involvement that we undertake and that we go through. You know what I'm saying? It's not about reaching another brother's or another sister's level of excellence in what they're doing, man. It's about reaching your level of excellence. It's about establishing your estate. It's about establishing your trust. You know what I'm saying? Your situation. It's not so much about you reaching this person's level of the game. And I'm just saying that to you to reiterate it because nobody told me that coming into this. Nobody told me about the dirtiness that I was about to enter into. Nobody told me, in a sense, what to look for. Islam. You know what I'm saying? Nobody told me that it's not about forcing yourself, forcing the issue. You cannot force a foregone conclusion. You understand? You can't force something that already is in existence, that's already in effect. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. That's just what it is. Whether you like rain or not, when it's going to rain, it will. So you have no control over it. Therefore, the only thing that we can control is ourselves. Islam. Therefore, I would never be. That was a great movie. That was one of the last so-called black movies I remember seeing that wasn't entrenched in niggerdom. You know what I'm saying? One of the only ones. So I say all of that to say that we're in the auspicious time now where we can actually move forward with our situation. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about it, all the other movements that exist are based on the divine and national movement. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. We can show and prove that. How? The love movement was the movement in the 60s, right? To free love. Then what? The peace movement was analogous to the love movement that was against the war, right? Then the justice movement, that was the no justice, no peace era, right? civil rights and all that, right? Right? Then the truth movement that came after 9/11. Don't they call themselves truthers, right? Then the peace movement was the movement trying to end the war. Remember? Remember? Then finally, the equality movement, that was all about the evolution of the civil rights, right? That was now everybody getting together. That was the integrationist movement, correct? So, in any of those movements, they were all based initially on Moors and what the Moors did. Isn't all of the civil rights movements in the country dealing right now based on it's starting with the black people, correct? So now the gays get civil rights, the whites get civil rights, the Chinese get civil rights, the dogs get civil rights, the whales get civil rights, right? Everybody gets civil rights but the black people, correct? The only way you can be black and get civil rights now is if you become transgender and become gay, or you're married to a Caucasian woman, you have a biracial baby. It's the only way you get rights, right? Not because I say so. I'm not making it up. This is what's happening, right? So as adults, we have foregone our innocence, right? So if we foregone our innocence, that means then that we can't function under the luxury of not knowing that this thing is fixed, that this whole thing is switched up, that it ain't in its original position, right? So I can't act like I don't see what is actually happening, because if I do that as an adult, I can die. Islam? Therefore, it is maladapted to give the benefit of the doubt to someone who is showing that they only benefit off of doubt. Now, it's different with the state. The state don't have the thing is the state don't have a choice in what it's supposed to do for you. That's the thing with the state. It has only an obligation. But according to the Supreme Court has deemed that the police have no, I wish I could remember the case, but they cited that the police have no legal or direct responsibility to protect the public. That's not their job. Islam, thank you, Moore. Islam, Castle Rock versus Gonzalez. Yes. They have no obligation to do so, but they are obligated to protect the interest or the property of the private citizens. Okay? The private citizens is anybody that is not connected to the state as a subject. A subject of the state falls under what's called the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment citizen. Now, they have protections, but their protections are under privileges. They only have privileges because technically they are functioning under the auspices of a military occupation. So when we say the word civil rights, or we use the term, anytime we use the word civil when we're speaking, right, about certain things, we're speaking of a military occupation. We're not speaking of civility like civilian. The term civilian is a military term. So when you say, okay, this person is not involved, this person is a civilian, you see what I'm saying? That's still a military occupation. That's still a military application to a living being. Therefore, you're not speaking of the living being. You're speaking of the military occupation. Do you understand? Yes, because they are participants in the theater. We have to understand what theater is. Theater, or the theater of war, I did a tape on it a while ago. The theater of war is what we're all entrenched in, unfortunately. This is the appearance of war, but it's really a war of it's really a fake war, meaning that it's a war to test the applications of war, but it is not a declared war. Do you understand? So the United States never declared war on ISIS. Why? Because the United States CIA clandestine services created ISIS. You see? Because this was all a part of what they refer to as the plan for the new American century. You can look that up. This is a plan that's was floating around Washington for over 40 years. And it's a military industrial complex plan that is now backed up by the Hollywood industrial complex, as well as the what people are referring to as the New World Order, whatever they call it. So that means, more, is that we're at the auspicious time where all of these things, all of these truths are about to be self-evident. All of these things are about to come to pass or come to fold. So it's our position, you know what I'm saying, to create a space for ourselves to occupy the position of the non-subject. The non-subject is the so-called national, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, that would allows one to exist in the land under the true protections that exist in the land, under the only thing that is relevant, which is the treaties. You know what I'm saying? It's good you brought Queen Elizabeth up. So let me get this out for you. Okay, so when we talk about Moors, right, of course, what always comes up is Spain, okay? Comes up is Spain and so-called Granada, you know, which can also be referred to as Grenada or Granada or the Grenadines, you know. So you have Grenadines, you had Algerines, you had Libertines. You see, a libertine is really somebody from Libya, really, because the cap of the libertine is the fez, and the people who were wearing the fez under the Islamic thing were connected to these lands. So there you go. Right. So they want to make it like the term Moor began 7th century AD, whatever. So you had all these people who I guess were calling themselves Arabs, but then these guys who decided to go into Europe decided to be called Moor. This is what they want us to believe. Okay. So when you look at the E. Wallace Budge translation, one of the things he says, this is from a Instagram post somebody did. I showed this before, the graph to the glyph for the term Moor or Ma'or. So nevertheless, E. A. Wallace Budge states that 2500 BC to 20401 BCE, the Palermo stele refers to the term Moor or Moor to mean the title of the high priests of Anu. This also shows that the Sumerian god Anu, who is a form of Ra, was worshipped in what they call Ta Mare, or Mary, or Meroe, which we today call Egypt, Upper Egypt, so-called Nubia, which is Lower Egypt, which is really what we think. See, Upper Egypt is really Nubia. Lower Egypt is really what we call Egypt over there. Okay, but they do it reverse because they go from the top down. So Tamaray, Meroe, Nubia, Upper Egypt is all the land of the Moors. That's why they don't like using the term Tamaray, you see, which is older than the term Kemet, because the term Kemet is actually the name, or Kemet, or Comet, right, is actually the name of a queen from that area of so-called Egypt over there. So it wasn't even the name of the whole land. It was actually the name of one person. It was actually a woman's name. So they'd rather be Comesians or Kemetans, you see, because they're of, that's what they believe. But they don't like using the term Tamaray because when it was worshipped in Tamaray first, therefore the term Moor is an ancient Tamarayan word, right? Which is equivalent to Metu Netter, right? Because the M and the N, because you could say more and then you could say Nur. Both mean the bringers of light. Because more, remember, the vowels is gone. You see what I'm saying? The vowels are not used in the Metu Netter. Therefore, it always busts down to MR. You know what I'm saying? And MR is more. Then when we get the book Saga America by Barry Fell, in that book, he shows an ancient picture, redrawing of an ancient picture of a map of old Nevada, and inscribed on it is the word MR. Get the book, you'll see. Therefore, so when we talk about Granada, right, we're talking about Spain, because all of this is Spain now, right? So all of this, the Moors is running all of this, and then eventually the Spaniards then enter into a contract with the Moors that they call the Surrender of Granada. And at that surrender, it basically says that the Spaniards get to occupy this place for a certain amount of time. Sound familiar? See what I'm saying? But while they're occupying it, the people who are giving them the right to live there is basically have free reign in the new government that they're basically doing what they're doing, so long as they maintain a position. So to get around that, the so-called Spaniards and the colonial governments did things to almost compel Moors to give up the nationality, which then stopped them from being able to receive the national or the intercontinental rights or the trans-territorial rights that go with them living in these colonies that are now established out of their kingdoms, empires, and dominions. Yeah, Mizraim is more, because Mizraim is Missouri. That's over here. Okay, so essentially, when we're speaking then of Granada or the Moors or the empire of the Moors towards the fall or the end of the world, which was in 1492, we then would understand that because they had a worldwide dominion, whatever lands that they existed in was that as well. So when Granada fell here, so the Moors pushed up all up into here. They tell you that it's that Charlemagne and them stopped them at the Battle of Tours, but that's not really true. They entered into an agreement, and then from there, they were able to set up diplomatic relations to. They were able to set up diplomatic relations to facilitate their removal. So here's Granada, right? But then we've got the Viceroyalty of New Granada over here. So you see why Moors wasn't necessarily as broke up or torn up You know what I'm saying? As much, because we still had free reign of everything that was on this side of the world, as well as in Asia and wherever. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, what I'm showing you is that your nationality, or the aspect of you being able to travel around the world, was something that was based in the blood right, because we descended from the people who established the ancient trade routes to do so. Nobody was traveling the seas before the us. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But then look at this. Okay, wait. All right. 1 second. All right, here we go. So boom, you see that, but then what about this? What's that on the bottom right? What does that say? What does that say, Morph? Right. So boom. We started. Okay, boom. Let's say we started with this. While this is going on, this is already here. You understand? So way back in the 7th century AD, this was already here. Okay? So at the same time they're talking to us about Granada, Spain, and Toledo and the Moors and this and that over there, what I'm saying is that over there is over here. And it represented all of this. But then wait, it goes all the way up to this now. Look what we did. We went from here. We at the bottom now. Look, we here all the way up to Panama. Look, I'm even showing you the canal was already there. What are they talking about? What was they digging? What was my son's grandfather and them working on? If it was already there, they was just digging another way through it. Because again, we could show maps going back where it was already there. So boom, we went from, so we're here, but we're also here. But then boom, let's go further up now. So this is all Panama, Costa Rica. So if it's Panama, it's Costa Rica too. This gray area represents the areas that were what they call bled El Seba, lawless. They Moors down here had their own kingdoms and dominions. But the further up you went, boom, look, all of this. The Spanish viceroyalty of New Spain. So we went from the Moors to the Spanish to the Louisianians, right? The French, so-called, and then the United States. But while all of that's going on, the lands, the kingdoms, the buildings, the castles, the statues, the temples, all of that stuff still there. What's changing hands is the title, not the land, not the people. Look, the kingdom of Mexico, the kingdom of the Yucatan, the kingdom of Guatemala. Who's running these kingdoms? Spanish niggas? Niggas from Spain? How are they if they're all under Isabella and Ferdinand, or they're all under Juan Carlos or whoever's running Spain or Britain or whatever at the time, then how is these kingdoms, how they all got their own kingdoms? New Santander, New Galicia. Galicia, that was Moors. That's where the Moors live. New Navarra. Navarra, that's where the Moors live. New Vizcaya. New Vizcaya. That's where the Moors live. Over here. You see what I'm saying? So what are they talking about that the Moors was not in America? What are they saying? Wasn't the Spanish here before everybody? And who was here before the Spanish? How did the Spanish know how to get here? And when they got here, they obviously wasn't running everything, because this go up to the 1800s. Look, the Spanish Viceroyalty of New Spain, 1800s. The Viceroyalty means that they're in conjunction with the king. They have their own kingdom, their own dominion. Look, Florida's a part of that. Look, so then when we analyze, go deep into Florida, what's there? Look, the Chickasaw, the Abaca, the Chacamuquia, right? The 6 towns, the Tanessa, the Natchez, right? But they tell us that the Natchez is in Illinois, right? No, the Wichita, which is the Washita, right? The Seminole, the Tamuacan, That's the Moors, the Tamuancan chiefdoms of the Mayacayas. So Mayacayas is different than Moroccan. That's what you're saying? When we just showed and proved that all of this is Andalusia. All of this is New Granada. Look, we just localized in. And this is in the 16th, this is in 1650. It was like that. This existed in 1650. This is all a part of that. So this is why when the Seminoles won and we did everything we did, they just went over to Mexico. You see? Because they was already a part of the Dominion. So when we say the Spanish territory, we talking about the territories that was in league with the Spanish. See, there was the Kingdom of Spain, and then there was the Spanish Empire. The Spanish Empire, that's Moors. That's the Moors that these niggas that took the land by title is still paying. Isabella and Ferdinand, they bought the kingdom from Ezegal in 1491 and then foreclosed on it in 1492. And then they sought to extend the dominion to the other kingdoms that was related to it at the same time. You see what I'm saying? So this is the coastal area. But now look how we freak it. Look how we're going to freak it right now. We're about to freak it. Somebody posted this. That's why they never should have made the internet if they wanted to keep blacks stupid. Okay, boom. So we already established the Moorish kingdoms and the Moorish dominions in these places, because we already established that in all of these areas here is all of the Moors. The Seminoles, the Tumuancan, the Mayas, right? They all here, right? This right here, Louisiana, this is all Washita, right? That's Washita dug the mound here. We already know that. So this is France, okay? Right? Then we got the government of New California. That's the caliphate. That's the caliphate surrounded by, what's her name? This chick. This is a painting of her. Khalifa. Right? So the government of Khalifa is the caliphate. But they not going to write caliphate on a map like this. You understand what I'm saying? You got to know that that's what it was. Look, the government of ancient California. What is that? Who's that? The government of ancient California? Why they never show us this map? Then look, they call it the Great Boreal Sea. What's that? What's that? Yeah. The government, though, look, the government of ancient California. Then they make it seem like these niggas are just walking around here naked in loincloths and stuff all day. Look, this is who they talking about. Look, look the feds. Look the feds they had to put on. They know. They know. Look, with the same Aztec, Maya, Anasazi shield, like Captain America, and the sword. This is what they done based. This is liberty. This is America. This is it. This is the black woman they don't want to see again. This is the black woman they don't want back. They'll put her on the money, but I don't want to see her like that. You know what I'm saying? So look, look at this area. Look at what this is. We've already established the kingdoms of the Moors in Granada, both over here, down further, all the way down into Venezuela. Ain't they invading Venezuela right now? Venezuela is the #1 importer, exporter of oil in the world. The oil reserves in Venezuela will never go dry. Ever. Ever. China gives Venezuela more money than all of the African nations combined. That's why they out there with their fleets and the guns. This is a trade. We are in a trade war right now between the United States and China. Ain't nobody in the community even talking about that. You ain't noticed the gas prices recently? Like this is what they call this is what Zbigniew Brzezinski in his book, The Grand Chessboard. This is what it's about. This is the type of books niggas need to be reading, man. So you understand how these psychopaths think. Murder, theft, genocide, that is corporate business. That's how business is done. Do you know how many children are working as slaves right now in sweatshops and all of that for your #1 stars that's out here selling all of this and talking about setting up foundations for homeless children and stuff? You know how many children is slaving away, dying every day, making sneakers for these chicks? Putting soles on shoes, sewing buttons on dresses that they come over here and overprice. Do you know that in China they build suicide nets at the Apple plant? Suicide nets. Because after a while, people just get so thin and they're so compressed and repressed out there, they just jump out the window to kill themselves. So enough people did that. Understand? Enough people was doing that they had to build nets. Not to save them, but to keep them from dying so they could go back to work. And we think that China is a beacon of hope. Akon, you see what I'm saying? Nigga, if they done gave you $1 billion credit limit, you work for them. Any nigga give you $1 billion, you work for him. You know what I'm saying? Again, that's why Trump wasn't going to take him setting up the lights for the Puerto Ricans and all of that. Because as far as Trump look at it, he looking at it like, look, y'all niggas could have been free 20 years ago. The referendum came up for y'all to break away from the United States and have y'all own country. No, y'all niggas want to stay here. So you get what you know what I'm saying? So they can't be mad. They had their own country. They had the right to imagine the government coming to you, just you as a person, say, look, you can have all of this part. You can have Utah back. And you be like, nah, I'm gonna stay in the United States. That's Puerto Rico. You understand? That's where they at. So when this nigga came and asked them for money and all of that, that was really just a byproduct of the Chinese now trying to put the United States into formal debt through their proxy. Same way we would use Caucasians and against each other to depose each other's kingdom and stuff. Instead, now the white Caucasians, the yellow Caucasians using the black man against each other. So anything they pop off, they need black people to pop it off first. So this coming war that's coming with the Venezuelan thing is serious. But look what I'm telling you. Venezuela is what? Is the viceroyalty of New Granada. Granada was ruled by what? By who? By who? Did Venezuela exist in 1492? Huh? Did Venezuela exist in 1492? Did Russia exist in 1492? No. Did the United States exist in 1492? No. But the Moors existed in 1492 though, right? And we Moors are descendants of the Moors of Granada, who have a treaty and an actual contract called the Surrender of Granada that says that we have X amount of rights to do what we need to do. And this is what all the other treaties that came after in Europe was based on. Do they know that? Do these niggas even know that? Do they even read the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and then read the Surrender of Granada, then read the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and then read the Treaty of Madrid, read the Treaty of Ghent, read the Treaty of Marseille, and you will see that it's all variations of the same thing. It just talks about what we could do, how we could do it, and how those of us that stick to our nationality have basically the ownership rights or the possessors of the whole thing. That's what it say. But let peep this. Look, so this is we've got the government of New Mexico. So all of these were governments prior to the Louisiana Purchase. You see why there was a Spanish-American War? Do you see why there was a French-Indian War? Do you see why there was a war? Because we was not having it. Niggas was not having it. So they needed something to happen. So the by 1812, see this is 1800. By 1811, it was predicted that the New Madrid earthquake would pop off in New Madrid, Montana, or wherever it was, and it decimated all of happened to be this. And while we was in shambles dealing with that, that's when all of these niggas ran through and started just doing what they was doing based on Manifest Destiny, based upon the selling of the thing with Napoleon and all that, which we'll get to in a second. Okay? So everybody understand that. So all of this is the Moorish Empire, both over here from the shores of Montezuma. Look, here it is. We got the whole thing to the shores of Tripoli, right? What's right here? What's right here? Tripoli. Tripoli is right here. Basically. If we was to keep going this way on this map, it's over here. So we're already in Spain. We're already in Andalusia. We're already in that. I'll prove it further. But look, but peep this. So this is what it is. This is where we at. Now we're Moors, so we're the guys that were running these kingdoms, because these Indian people, these Aboriginal people, they don't have no direct tie to none of this. They don't have no titles of nobility. So whatever tribe they're talking about, they're connected to, is the ones that was up here that was dealing with the leftover Mongols and stuff that was regaled to the reservations and was trying to be white. That's why they were the ones who signed the treaties with these United States people and then fought against us. Okay, so they are allied with the traitors. So they're all collaborators. So they are the ones that joined up. Get the book Confederate Cherokees, and it talks about it. Albert Pike worked for us. He was under the jurisdiction of John Drew. He did what he told him to do. What he did with the United States, with the black traitor Prince Hall Freemason, Thornton Jackson to create the degrees that led into the establishment of morals and dogma and the New Scottish Rite and the merging with the Lucifer Trust and all of that, that gave the birthplace to why everybody's a Satanist now. He did that because he hated niggas, which was Moors and so-called Indians that had no knowledge of themselves. The Moorish Empire had no problems with. When he said he was going to destroy, use Islam and Christianity to come together and destroy the world, he's talking about them. He's talking about the people that's claiming to be mainstream Islam today. You understand? The people that's claiming to be the most devout and the most Islamic and the most this and that. They can't be the people in the Quran that was spoken of as the third prophecy of Muhammad, who were the Moors, because that would mean then that they would not have the power now, and they do, and they've squandered it. That's why the locusts then came and wiped everybody out. These niggas is about to go in there and destroy the dome to allow the Jews to go in there and build they fake temple. That there's no imperial historical evidence to say that that's even where the shit was at. So if I'm showing you that Granada and all this stuff was already over here, these kingdoms they talking about was over there, it was over here. They saying it's over here, then that means that everything they talk about is a lie. But then peep this. So then let's compare this map now to this. Look at it from this perspective. Whoever did this map, big up to you. I don't know who it is, but somebody sent it to me in the email. Now do the knowledge. See what I'm saying? Now still keep that other map fresh in your mind, but then look at this one. And this is an allegory of a thing. So this is not like an ancient map. Niggas found in a cave or something. This is a basically an allegory of using the real coordinates of where the biblical stuff happened, and you know what I'm saying, and putting it on a modern face. Technically, we need to be looking at this thing upside down, but for the sake of academia and new people coming in, this is it. You see? See what I'm saying? So Israel over here, and then we'll compare it with another one. Hold on. All of that stuff got renamed that after the New Madrid earthquake, and then they created this thing that we call history, and then said, "Oh, this thing was the American Revolution. This thing was the Civil War. This thing was this, and all of this was based on the Greeks, and the Greeks were based on this because they went in and destroyed everything. Then what was left?" They left certain buildings up and then turned the remnants, the prisoners of war, and put them into the Mohawk school and the Moors Indian charity school, and then mind controlled them and raped them and killed them and bleached them. And then the ones that survived, they moved out to another territory, made them slaves of this or whatever, and they kept that factory going. And niggas believe that. Niggas be talking about it like that's real, like that it's real. When you reading about the Bible, nigga, you reading about what's happening right here. Here. This is why we call New York Babylon. When they talk about the Euphrates and the Nile, and same shit. It's the same thing. It's the Mississippi. That was the tributary into all of the other rivers in the world. Remember, this right here was listed as the ancient kingdom of California. So if that makes sense, then that means this, they saying this was the Red Sea. This was the sea that they crossed over. The land of the Hittites was Canaan, which makes sense. Canada. Up by Alaska, which was Al-Aqsa. These was the Moroccans of the farthest west. So it says they crossed over the Sea of Reeds or the Red Sea into Edom, or what they call Lower Edom. Upper Edom, over here, Lower Edom. In the valley of Moab. Isn't the Moab the Moabi desert? This is what they call it, the Mojave, the Moabi. Shit is over here, man. They got us looking, they got us crazy. They got us bugging. So when they talk about Elam, the Elamites, the original Chaldeans, they up here. So now again, bring that into context of this. That means they was always here. We was always here. It says in the circle 7, what? The Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, the Amalekites came here, asked permission from the Pharaoh, based on the work we put on the giants with the rest of them with Joshua and all that. And we was able to set up our own shop. But we kept the covenant. They didn't. The traditional Hebrew, the people that was like, oh, we Hebrew, the ones that initially was like leading the charge behind Joshua, eventually they got tired. And they started grafting. They started using the Neanderthal for wars and all that. Solomon started having babies with all these women from other nations. We wasn't doing that. Once we got right, we got right. And it says that we kept the covenant. And these Hebrew niggas want to talk to you about how you're not connected to that, and the Moors ain't this, and go check Deuteronomy 29:10, man. Read that whole thing and come back to me and say that shit again. Because this was the land of Moab that they dwelt in before they went in and all of that, and where they made the covenant of those that were with the original line that left Egypt and those that were there with them that day. These niggas don't even read the Bible. They don't even know what they're reading. So that means that those people, this is the same place. It's the same place. This Jerusalem, this shit ain't got nothing to do with them. Why you think they attacking California like that with the fires and all that? All that stuff was over here, man. All that Bible stuff is an allegorical telling of the ancient tale of how he was going to fall and rise. And it was put and imbued with such energy that if you knew how to freak it, you could control billions of people with it. That's why we made it like that. That's why the prophet said, don't get rid of your Bibles. That's why the Texans was whacked, because they wanted to have the right to enslave the people that was already there. That's why the Louisiana Purchase was horrible, because they were trying to enslave the Moors that was already there. That's why the Seminole Wars was whacked, because they were trying to go against the Moors, the people that was already there. Look, how is the vacant quarter? Look, this vacant quarter is this on this map. And what's that? The United States. Ain't nobody there. Look, there's nobody there. On this map, this part that we're seeing up is vacant. This is up by the Ohio River and all that. But look, how far down the Ohio River go? Into the Mississippi, into the thing, down by the Chitimacha. Remember I talked about them. That's the heavy Moors that was putting in a lot of work. And goes out into, look, on what we would call the Gulf of Mexico, but that's really the Egyptian Sea, the Aegean Sea. You see how you see what's going on? You see how they got us in the trick bag? You see how they got these Moors just crazy, just messed up in the bread. They don't know what side the butter. They just, oh, this is what Dr. Clark said. This is what, nigga. Dr. Clark went blind reading books, man. That should tell you something, bro. How mad I am. I didn't realize I needed to stop reading as much as I was reading at the time. This is why real other scholars, not saying real scholars, but why white scholars, this is why they have interns, why they have people that's willing to, you know what I'm saying? Do that. How you going to intern for me when you got to feed your family? Look, man, these more they ain't showing improving nothing. They out here lying, man. Somebody, like I said, Allah just let somebody did this. I don't even know who this is. Somebody just made this map, and I just happen to be doing this thing, and it just just like wow, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is it. And then boom, look how I'm gonna freak it on you. I'm freak it even further. And then bring it to this. See how it all lays out? It's all here. We don't gotta go nowhere. That's why everybody come in here. Because they want to see where their place was named after. Look, Moab. Look. Moab. Right here on the map. See it? Boom. Boom. Where's that? Moab. Right here. Same place. Same place. Boom. What's in Moab when it was in that? That was New Navaria. It was it was right in between New Navaria, the government of New Mexico, and New Vizcaya. That's where Moab was at. That's where the Moabi Desert is right now. So that means it was a tri-state. And this we know was the Washita, which was connected to the French. That's why the French had ties here. But when we talk about the French, we're not talking about Napoleon and them. We're talking about the indigenous so-called Frenchmen, the so-called Haitians, or the Haitian Empire. They scared. They don't want to claim it. Look, then boom. How you explain this then? Now this makes sense. Now this all makes sense. This Madrid, see? This is where the new Madrid earthquake started. You see? And it was devastating. It rocked the whole empire. That's how you know it was some judgment situation. Because we didn't follow the covenant. These Moors start calling themselves Africans and all of that. They started buying the stories after 1867 that they was all imported from Africa and all that. Morocco. That's right, Mo. Gibraltar. Look, Mo, right here, right on the water. Right on the water. Just like Gibraltar over there. But all this was Assyria, Babylon, and all that. Look, Cairo, Cuba, Florence. That's why all of this is nuked out. That's why all of this right here is radioactive. It's all nuked out. Go online and Google Earth, the hidden, just Google Earth or Google Map Earth or whatever, and then type in this area, and then type in unused highways or something like that. And you'll see all of these lines, like the Nazca lines, like the lines you see in the Nazca books on the Nazca line, same stuff. They got a railroad track that go from mainland America, Florida, all the way to Bermuda. That's still there. Look, man, they're not going to tell us the truth about one thing and then the lie about one thing and then truth about everything else. Everything a damn lie. So all of this right here, this is again showing that these are all towns, old Moorish towns that still exist, that's here right now. And they belong to us. That don't belong to them. They was already here when they got here. They was already here when they got here. Everything. It was already working. The lights was already on. The toilets was already flushing. All of that was here. The only vacant areas was a place where they was banished to. And if you look at those areas, that was the plantations. That's where we put the invaders when they invaded us. And that's what we were supposed to do. So it's not so, again, for the record, me personally, I do not hate anyone, especially Africans. But at the same time, I know there's no such thing as an African. Because the term Africa was not a designation for a people. It was a designation for the country today we call Libya. And eventually came to be known by that as gradually as the Carthaginians took control of the continent. That's the truth. So when the History Channel made Hannibal black and the white people started beefing, it's not because he was made black. It's because he's really black, and we waking up to what it really is. Look up the Mauryan dynasty, Maur, like the high priest of Anu, Yan. Look up the Morena people, Moorena. Look them up. They existed way before that, and they wearing feathers and turbans way before what we even consider Islam existed. So how do we explain that? And they had ships. How are we explaining that? They Africans too? Okay. The other thing is when we saying that we're descended from Africans and stuff like that, we're also saying that we're descended from apes. Because the Lucy that they keep saying is this black woman is an ape. Look it up. It's an ape. Everything they do is mocking us. Because we don't know. The other problem with Africa is this. The reason why the African nations will never have their own, with the exception of like some of them modern days is getting it, I think. But I don't consider them African nations. I would consider them countries like Rwanda, countries like Swaziland, countries like that. Like Rwanda got turned around on some whole other steeds. You know what I'm saying? They don't just adopted Swahili as a national language. They done made French. That's not even a thing no more. So they don't came out of what they call the Francophone sphere of influence. France is run by Africans. France's whole economy is based on the 64 African nations plus African nations that pay them. France has assassinated 120 African leaders since the colonies have had independence. So everybody upset at me or upset at us because I'm not trying to claim to be down with that, because I'm not. I don't descend from people that would do that. I descend from the people that fought against that. Remember, everything is inverted. Anybody who they perceiving and showing you as the bad guy is really the good guy. Everybody that's the good guy is really the bad guy. That's how they doing it. Look at this. This is them in Africa right now. There's no war in Africa. There's no civil wars in Africa right now like that. All of the wars is against ISIS. And I just told you, ISIS was established by the CIA. And you know why it's true? Because ain't no government agency ever come out and say that it ain't that. They ain't ever come sensing me and say none of that. No, because it's true. It has nothing to do with me, what I want. You got to know the difference between how to know a poisonous snake from a non-poisonous snake. A poisonous snake got a straight up and down eye, like a reptilian, like the eye of Sauron. A non-poisonous snake got a round eye, got a round pupil. A non-poisonous snake face comes to a round point. A poisonous snake face is blunted, like a cobra or an anaconda. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with an African. You got to know, or a black man, you got to know that the reason why these people are still here is because these blacks is keeping them here. Because they are part of the theater. They're a part of the whole thing. And the whole thing is doing away with the true possessors who have the allodial title to the land. It don't have nothing to do with whether you like Moorish Americans or whether you think Moorish Americans need to accept their Africanness. Like that is the least. That's so downstairs in terms of an actual argument or something to do, because they're trying to play on your heartstrings. They're trying to play the Lion King music behind you and stuff, because they engendered you with Roots. Before Roots, I didn't know anything about racism. I didn't know anything about that stuff. None of that stuff existed. My mother wasn't rich, but she was this. There was still a middle class. You know what I'm saying? So there was still a means where we still had education. We still was about something. We could still play. We could still interact with one another. But we were growing up in the second generation of the fathers being cast out. You understand? And we all came, those of us from the 70s, we came from the most selfish generation in the world, because our parents was what they called the divorcee generation. They were the ones who broke up, whereas the generations before them stuck together regardless to maintain the family wealth, to maintain the family infrastructure. But then also remember, by that time, you had about about 100 generations of niggas coming up under the whole fake Freemasonry thing. You see what I'm saying? So you wind up with stuff like this. You think they would let me and you go over there on some tactician stuff, trying to teach them about warfare? Do you see what I'm saying with this picture? He is teaching them about warfare. Do you understand that what their ancestors used to do to him? And you gonna tell me that I need to go and put myself under their jurisdiction? You bugging. You an agent. You an agent. You trying to get me to be something I'm not. You trying to get me to contract to do business under a false name. That's what denationalization really is. You contracted me to do business under a name and a designation that's not mine. And that is the very definition of slavery. Therefore, anybody toting that line is toting the company line. Therefore, the company line is what? Propaganda. It's coming from the man. It's coming from the very same person who set this thing up in the first place. They haven't created anything. Nothing in the world that you see around you came from Caucasian people. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing other than death, destruction, lies, strife, murder, rape, torture, poison, pollution, infanticide, genocide, menticide, pedophilia. If I'm lying, I'm flying. And I'm not. They didn't create nothing. Nothing. Not even Batman. Not even Batman. Not even that. But I talked about this in the Science of Superhero stuff that I did back in the day. And now superheroes is, like I said back then, is the basis of how movies is made and stories is told. Look, the so-called Mongoloid Shoshone, mad dark. The so-called Aboriginal Shoshone, mad dark. But look, he even got a more on his joint with a turban on. But these is Indians. Okay. But they was way darker back then, even though they was Mongoloid. And these guys, like I said, came over here with Genghis in the 13th century. They just got here. But to then get into that story, they would have to get into this. Because this was the ceremonial war armor that was there to repel Genghis and them when they got out of control. It's the shit they was wearing. And the people that was wearing that was not Mongoloid or Siberian Native Americans. They were people that looked exactly like me and you, because I'm showing you that we was already here. Where did we go? Where was we at? Where was they sending us? Where was they sending us? If where was Granada? How was they doing that when it was already here? We didn't have to go nowhere because we didn't. This is what they said. This from their fake scholars. The Spanish viceroyalty includes today, present day, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Panama. You know how big that is? You know how much land that is? And Panama. But I just also showed you that connected further up to the greater coast. So you know what this brings into account? You know what this does? Let me see if I can show you. We was already here. Phoenicia was already here. Everything was already here. All of these buildings that they seen in the Renaissance was them. The Renaissance came after the fall and after they came into fake power. And then they started with the iconoclasts, and the iconoclasts went in and they started to redo the what do you call it? The images. They started whitewashing the images, but they got as many as they could, and then that's when they hired Michelangelo or whatever, blackmailed his family through the fake Venetian papacy, and then they established the thing for him to build it, for them to create all of these fake statues, and then go in there and repaint over all of the black faces and stuff that was there. And he went blind doing it. It was already there. You understand? They lied. They lying about it all. They just took the pictures out, repainted the ones, and then put them in and put the real ones in the storage because they couldn't destroy all of them. The conquest of Italy brought Charlemagne in contact with the Saracens, who at the time controlled the Mediterranean. Pippin, his son, was much occupied with the Saracens of Italy. Charlemagne conquered Corsica. That's where Napoleon is from. Napoleon was a Corsican, not a Frenchman, and from Sardinia. And at any unknown date at 799 the Balearic Islands. This is all over here. The islands were often attacked by Saracen pirates, but the Counts of Genoa and Tuscany, Boniface, kept them at bay with large fleets until the end of Charlemagne's reign. Charlemagne even had contact with the Caliphal court at Baghdad in 797 or 801. With the Caliph of Baghdad, who was Harun al-Rashid, ill, blessed the dead, peace be upon him, presented Charlemagne with an Asian elephant named Abdul Abbas and a clock. Okay? Gave him the clock. This is before Ben Franklin, bro. You know what I'm saying? In Hispania, the struggle against the Moors continued unabated through the later half of his reign. His son Louis was in charge of the Spanish border, and in 785 his men captured Genoa and permanently extended the Frankish control into Catalan and Littoral for the duration of Charlemagne's reign. The Frankish until the Treaty of Corbeil in 1258 with the Muslim chiefs in the northeast. The Muslim chiefs in the northeast. The Muslim chiefs in the northeast, Islam, remember, the Muslim chiefs in the northeast and, where did it go? Of the Islamic Spain. See? The northeast of Islamic Spain. They didn't say, but again, that's wherever Granada and whatever was at. So it's all, they talking about all of this stuff, man. Not over there. Not just this. Excuse me. Not just the Spain they got over there, basically. The border slowly extended in 1795 and boom, 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 within the Duchy of Septimania. So the last conquest of the mouth of Ebro gave them the raiding access into Valencia, prompting the Emir al-Hakam I to recognize their conquest in 812. Because they was Muslims. They was of the book. They was of the covenant, the book. The Moors gave Charlemagne the crown and an elephant and the clock, just like we taught George's daughter. You think they was teaching white people like that? Come on, man. Come on, bro. Like we just believe in anything. Yes. See? They never talked to us about this. Is in 1790, Spanish colonial government began to offer homestead grants to residents who occupied and farmed the land for 10 years later. The colonial governor of Florida made awards known as grants and residents who fought to defend the colony. Free blacks, Moors, who was already there, lived in today's St. Johns County, received both kinds of grants. Both kinds. Why would they give slaves noble grants and land rights? Because they was already there. They was just the new government coming in, and they needed they money to be able to occupy the land anyway, because they didn't know how to farm it. Charlemagne the God is just imitating Charlemagne. That's all. Or he might be related to him. Who knows? That's how they do it too. They clown you through your ears, but whatever. Either way, it don't matter. We know what it is. We're more directly related to it than that, because we could actually claim descent from that. Look, it had been captured in the Switzerland area by the Mississippi Indians. Read that, Morris. Let's just say he received, boom, county of grants. Scipio, known to us only by his first name, received 25 acres fronting 6 Mile Creek in 1809. Scipio and his siblings had been captured in the Switzerland area by the Mississippi Indians in 1801. So you mean, but didn't they say that they shut them down? No. Because the Indians they talk about is the Moors that was already there. The Mississippi was the nation. They was a division of the Yamasee, which was also a division of the Seminole. So what this basically says is that the nation's oldest city in Florida offered land grants to so-called African Americans before the United States existed. And you know what? Our ancestors took that deal as opposed to going to war. And so the Spanish government entered into compact with the Nationals, the Moors that was already here, who was in Granada, New Granada and all that. And thus Granada became a viceroyalty. They couldn't control it. They couldn't stop the Moors. They couldn't come in here and do that after what happened in Granada. They was happy that we let them get that. We just came back over here. And it was all good, even through the French period. Only when the so-called United States came and when the Castrados was given powers that wasn't afforded to them, they played both sides and then was able to come up. So what I'm just telling you is your name, you, today, through your family name, through your trust, through your Moorish nationality, have the right to claim the Spanish land grant as an ancient descendant of the original so-called tribe of so-called what they call Israel, or whatever they want to call it today. Whatever the original thing was, you could call it that if you want. But the thing that ties it together is the Moorish nationality. Because what the Moorish nationality does is it links you back to the land, the inheritance, the blood, the intent, and the lawful right to receive endowment and payment through redress of grievance, based upon the fact that all of the stuff that we was reading about historically or whatever happened. Yeah, stuff happened over there, but the majority of the ancient stuff, all of that was here. And all of that was destroyed or hidden or remade or founded or erected. Ain't that what they write on buildings? They don't write created. They don't write made. They don't write blessed by God. They don't do that. They just put their name on it. But those people are these people. And that's us, because we're the only ones that's claiming descent through title and name and blood and inheritance. And it's actually in the place that our ancestors is actually from. Think about it. Everybody else that you see around you, 85% of them, 90% of them is from somewhere else. Imagine if everybody that was not here, that was from here, that wasn't from here, was gone. Like the snap, like the people that wasn't born here specifically. Of the original line, meaning of the blood of the people who was here from the original thing. And you snap all of those people away. It would most likely only be us. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe. However, everything I'm seeing is that everybody is basically working to keep the thing the way it is and us at the level that we're at. But what I'm saying is that the stuff that they're doing it with, which is the land, the territory, so great. They come in and now, like I said, they in Venezuela right now. They're in the viceroy, but really they're not in Venezuela. They're not in Ecuador. They're not in Colombia. They're not in Panama. They're in the viceroyalty of New Granada. And they never asked permission of the original people who was of the actual decision-making class to be able to do that. The people they made these deals with was brigands and castrados and Freemasons who were actually traitors to the whole thing. Therefore, it made whatever happened in terms of the deal null and void. Cartagena is Carthage. Cartagena is Cartagena. Carthage Genesis. You understand? When they talk about Valencia, Villa Valencia, Cali, like all of this stuff that these people went into and did they thing and were absorbed into, the Maracaibo, the Maracas, the Amaracas, all of this is Moors. This is all Moorish territory, lands. And there were different types of Moors, but the ones that were actually in charge of making sure that things was running as smooth as possible were the ones that was dealing with the flags and the empire and the international trade and all that. And then you had the other ones that was dealing with what had to happen on the land and all that. So you had the ones that was dealing with the architecture and all that, you know, and then you had the other. Then you got this map, the Viceroyalty of New Spain in North America in 1819. This is why they hate Mexicans and Mexicos, because we all are the ones that created them or that domesticated them. These Castilian, Spaniard, Mexicans, and all of that, they come under the Don system. The Don system was the sheiks. The Dons was the sheiks. Zorro and all of that, all of those people, all them dark dudes dressed like Simon Bolivar and all that, all of those were the Mameluke and the amalgamated light-skinned dudes that came up under Desalegn, under Christophe, under what's his name, the Haitian revolutionaries that helped them establish those countries. That's why they all have mimicked the Haitian colors. Because after Haiti freed itself, it went back in and shut it all down and helped everybody then establish little kingdoms and countries out of what was left of the empire. Because the Haitians, after the Louisiana thing, had all got kicked out. In Louisiana, the Haitians were Ouachitas, but they were also referred to as French Acadians or Chatas or Chickasaw or Kickapoo. You see what I'm saying? But they all had treaties when they was going to different parts of the world. They was going to different countries. They was going to different kingdoms where they had to produce whatever documents that showed and proved that they wasn't of the class that was now rising, which was the ones serving them, which was the Washingtons and the Franklins and these people. And then eventually those people adopted or bought their way into or bribed or got the niggas under them to get them out. And then their servants took their place, and then they now give concessions to the United States to then do the stuff that they doing. Because Thomas Jefferson and all of them is because Thomas Jefferson, especially, this is a light-skinned black man. This wasn't a white man. That's not what he really looked like. If the picture of Alexander Hamilton that they show us is fake, and we didn't see the black picture of that, then that means that the one that they show of this dude is fake too. All of them. But they came from that class that was already born broken. So yeah, that's what all of this is based on. This is where they all going with it. And now with the Spanish land grants, we can show and prove. I just showed and proved to you all that stuff about Ponce de Leon, looking for the Fountain of Youth, and then what's his name with Cibola, the 7 cities of Cibola. This is what they talk about. What the Moors did was consolidate the power of the ancient world and then moved on what the so-called people we today call the moderns were trying to conceal from the rest of the people under their jurisdiction. Because of the Crusades and they fought to such a fever, they were given a limited time to rule in their dominions. But the problem with them is that they're savage. And the type of religion given to them was not the Christianity that was initially fostered, but the Ethiopians created the Romans, and then from the Romans they created the white Italians and the rest of these other people, because they was trying to graft the devil out. That's why you see the harems of all the white women in one place, but you don't never see nothing with the men. With the men, you always see them getting shot with arrows or stabbed or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So the cross, they talking about the 4 crosses of, the rivers. You got the river at the top of the world, which is the top of the plain. You got one river that goes up and one river that goes across. That river that goes up, in the middle, you got what was Eden. That's protected by the North Ring. You know what I'm saying? And then you got the Egyptian River on one side, or what we'll call the Egyptian River on our side, and then you got on over there, and then you got the so-called Central American rivers or whatever over here. One is symbolized by the Maltese cross. One is symbolized by the Red Cross in the Masonry. So the Maltese cross, that's going to the Jesuits directly and all that. The Red Cross, that's going back to the Templars and the French and the fake Jesuits and the Shriners and them. But they all serve the same devil. So what difference does it really make? So we Moors, when we lived in that, when it says that the Moors lived in harmony with Christians, Muslims, and all of that, that's because everybody was under Sharifian law. So the Sharifian law, everybody was a Muslim so long as you represented yourself according to the custom. But these people, when they came over here to attack us and then got stranded or whatever, they started doing stuff like this. Started attacking whole villages, eating people because they didn't know how to farm. They didn't know how to eat. They just let out the caves. They was literally just let out the caves, herded on boats, took from one side of the place to the other, and then we would just sick them on each other with it. It was crazy. The multilateral agreements. Boom, boom, boom. It's a town of Cartagena reaching the river of Quito, price, blah, blah, blah. So this is all a trade thing, whatever. So this was them giving up. This was Italy now after the Treaty of Italy. They don't like that one. Because that one, the Treaty of Italy, I believe in 1947, I think it's like 40 pages. I don't like that because when you know how to read it from an international perspective, that means you understand that they was, at that time, they were seceding land and that the tracts in it that was given was also afforded by the original people that entered into the original compact I showed you. That's why the land grant was done. So just in case any future colonial power, who was basically the landlord, took over the property, they would be obligated under the same agreement. Do you understand? And that agreement was done by you in a noble capacity, not as a citizen with them. It wasn't like you was in business and you agreed to go into business with them. They agreed to borrow from you to make them the lender for a specific amount of time. That's why they tabulate the birth certificate the way they do. Tabulate how much money they could get off of you from the time you born and the time that you expire. And then whether or not you have control of the vessel during that time depends on how much they can recoup from the vessel, whether it be organ harvesting or, lawyer fees, doctor fees. You see what I'm saying? Selling experimental stuff. You see what I'm saying? They had to do that. So they became reticent with that. And it became a problem. Everybody was now under this obligation of paying this debt that didn't belong to nobody but them. So they made everybody a citizen under them. But that's like forcing you to do business and then created a separate thing because you was already there. I just showed we was already here. We was already here. You know what I'm saying? Like we was already here, man. We already was naming stuff. Stuff was already named and built. And we could prove it now. Therefore, what was ceded to them perpetually so long as they uphold what they were supposed to do. But they've conned people to believe that regular people can't be litigants. Regular people can't run government, can't be empowered enough to handle their own affairs without police. That's what they convince people to do. They've convinced people that they can't be self-sufficient. That means that they're tyrannical. That's tyranny. That's the very definition of tyranny. But the reason why people is not doing it is because we as people have become used to the luxury of the hell we're in. So once you understand that, all you can do is build up with the people, yourself and the people that you can build with, and then do that outside of what everybody else is doing. And keep what you're doing to yourself. Because nobody can be trusted that's not of your nation. Nobody. Because they don't trust you. They don't trust you. Because we don't have to be out here protesting and trying to overthrow you don't got to do none of that. Nobody trying to be out here trying to start no revolution against the United States government. Why would I do that? I just need them niggas to process my bonds, process my situation. You know what I'm saying? Do what you got to do under the obligations of the treaty. That's all I want. I don't want nothing else from them. But because of my ancestors, and we can tie ourselves to this stuff, we're not even, it's not even a promise. It's an obligation. It's an obligation to do what you're supposed to do on a legal level, on a Freemasonic level. You know what it is, man. The devil acknowledges God. Don't get that twisted. But if they can hold you in a way to delay your ascendancy, they're going to do that. They're going to try to just make you think that what it is ain't that. But they doing that because they know that's what it really is. But they know that the people that we've got to worry about is the people that look like us. Because they believe everything negative about themselves and nothing positive. When it says middle towns here, they think in towns like Little House on the Prairie, or like, you know what I'm saying? Or like one of them Western towns you see in a Clint Eastwood movie. Nigga, they talking about straight pyramid towns with like lights and all types of stuff, man. We bugging. That's how low we see ourselves. That's how much we don't think we shit. We think that it wasn't nothing here until Jamestown. Look at that. Look at this. Look, this is when Jamestown got set up. This is what was going on. All of this was popping when Jamestown set up shop, B. So who was they selling before that? Black people? Come on, man. They didn't get into Africa until really into Africa, the interior, until the late 1800s. That's what they did the Berlin Conference for. If they was in Africa running it already, why did they have to have a conference in 1881 to carve it up? The same way the Chinese just had a secret conference to carve up Africa. That's why they just put in the loan to have Nigeria to pay their debt. They don't pay their debt, they're going to take over Nigeria. Watch. And that's going to be the domino. That's going to be it. But Nigeria was one of the countries building the biggest statue of the white Jesus in the world. So that's Allah's torment. That ain't got nothing to do with the Chinese. That's how he looking at it. He thinking like Genghis. That's how they thinking. You see what I'm saying? You see why Allah brought the whole Tartary thing through the Shinnah thing, but planted the seed of that whole science in us through the Kung Fu movies, through the Wu-Tang stuff, through the Nation of Gods and Earths, understanding the science of the Asiatic. Allah ain't doing that for nobody else. For what? They got everything. These niggas got their own house. They got their own countries. They got their own technologies. And what are they doing? Asian bitches painting themselves black. White bitches putting on blackface. White dudes trying to stand in the symbol, contort their body to symbolize the swastika, which is really a symbol of the Moors. Like, that's hurting my feelings. Nah. So what I'm saying is that the corporate status of these places is based on the fact that we are the heirs to the land grants. It ain't these white people, and it ain't these Spanish, Mexican, Cuban, none of these niggas neither. It ain't them neither, because most of them niggas is white, bleached out Jews. And again, disclaimer, I have nothing against Jewish people. I think that they've been doing as Ashkenazims, as Arthur Koestler said they was doing in his book, in his pivotal book, The 13th Tribe, as was said by him, was able to set up the greatest monopoly of insipid depravity that the world had ever seen and may never see again. These are the families. When they talking to you about the Illuminati and these niggas like Game of Thrones and all of that, they watching our story. That's why on Black Twitter right now, they've got this whole campaign where they showing what the characters of Game of Thrones would be played like by black people. They crying for somebody to do something about the real Moors. That's not the Black Panther. But they know if you do the right movie like that, they playing with John Wick, they playing with Assassin's Creed. But once you know, when you see that black man in that fez, and it's a whole army of them niggas in fezzes and turbans going to storm this castle, that's going to do something to the psychological structure of what they call white supremacy. White privilege is anything. That's anybody benefiting off of Western society. So we all benefit from white privilege. I benefit when a white man proves himself to be an ignorant racist. I benefit from that. Because it proves I'm right. Just as it proves when some Negro does something against his people or for the white man, he's right. That's how law work. The problem come in when I try to kill him for being right. You know what I'm saying? That's when stuff get crazy. We were the first people to have mechanized warfare in the world. The Turkish Empire was peopled by Moors. The Japanese Empire was peopled by Moors. Don't let these Japanese and these niggas and these modern day Asians fool you, man. That's why they out there putting afros in their head and growing dreadlocks and all of this. This Moor, one of the Khan Beys, he was the pilot. He's the Red Baron that Snoopy was trying to get in the TV show. This is who the white people was trying to shoot out the sky and was getting their ass handed to them. Don't let them fool you. The reason why the Red Tails wasn't getting into like that is because the Red Tails they didn't have the Red Tails fight the Turks. When the Turks saw the Red Tails coming, they had orders to go the other way because they wasn't trying to kill no Moors. That's how stupid these Tuskegee niggas is. That they just believe all the stories. The white man. Read the book about this brother. Read the book about the mechanized, the Crimean War and all of that. There's a book called The Dictionary of Espionage. Get that. I'm not talking to y'all like that. I'm just saying people will listen to it in the future. Understand warfare. On your left, this is what he was flying through. This is what's up there. They talk about the elves. This is it. This is the elf. This is the halo. These are called, they're calling them sprites, but this is the angels. The high beings, the ones that's watching over everything. The Grigori, or whatever, the ones they have no control over. They can't do nothing with these people. With these things. Whatever they want to do, they just got to let them do it. These are the protectors of the dome. It said they done try to put 15 million holes in it. think Hillary Clinton said that 15 or 13 million holes. Just what they doing. This more, they let him fly straight through, shooting them crackers out the sky. These are the crawlers. It's different types. That's what I'm saying. What we think is like these space things they telling us, the shooting stars and the comets, these is people. These is things. These are entities. We're tripping. We're bugging. We're stupid because we're not seeing the world for what it is. We're seeing the world as how it's told. And the prophet came and told niggas the man knows not from being told. Sometimes when it rains, it feels like the air is being sucked up into something. That's this. That's these things. White man ain't got no power over this. This is what he made HARP for. You think he think about you? You think he think about us? The ones that think about us is the low ones. Those are the ones that don't even really know what's happening. And they think they really know. They think they really clued in. This crack ain't telling them nothing. He'll tell us everything before he really put him on, the ones that's working for him, and what's really going on with it. They're not going to do that. They're not going to show us pictures like this. They're not going to explain it in that. They're going to give us the science fiction version. And I love science fiction. It's a great medium to teach history, biology, photosynthesis, all types of stuff. Don't hate the player, hate the game. The game rigged. This is you. This is us. This is what this we're like little things on each one of this, but each one of these little things that we don't see is one of these, is one of this. Same veins in the body, the same veins that's in everything. But in the Marvel movie, they'll call it Dormammu, exactly. You see? And they'll have to trick it by using time, which is a man-made device. It's a man-made construct to be able to siphon and protect itself from these type of things. Are y'all ready to live in a world where these things are outside every day? You ready for that? The same way you see a dog or a cat, you seeing this. This is passing by. This is passing over. The same way you see a plane pass over you, this is what's passing over you. You ready for that? They got it twisted. We didn't go nowhere. That whole slave is fake. How they found the last slave ship in Alabama when they ain't found the first slave ship? Show me the first one and then show me the last one. You're supposed to have whole museums full of these things. The way that they do, the way they talk about it is what I'm saying. Jamestown, they was not popping like that. These Caucasian people was not running things like that. Stop giving them all this power. Stop giving them the fake history. Nothing, everything after the New Madrid earthquake of 1811 reshaped everything. And then they call it, they tell niggas, this is called Reconstruction. And it took place after this war. Because this guy put out an Emancipation Proclamation to free the slaves. But who were the slaves? The African slaves and the Negro slaves. And then the slaves, 3. The Negro slaves and the slaves was the straight Caucasians from Circassia, the real castrados, the ones that just didn't get no burn. Then you had the Negro slaves. That was like the Jews and the Khazars that was able to come out the cave sooner than the rest of them. And then they were given limited dominion to change money and stuff like that. And then you had the African slaves. They were the descendants of the invaders on behalf of the Portuguese and that whole alliance of Aragon, Castile, Congo, Alphonse, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Which then was then blessed by the Castrato papacy that was put in power by the low-key amalgamated Venetian oligarchy that was low-key financing everything, all of the crusades, all of that, because they were the descendants of those first Janissaries and Mamelukes that were put under this heavy restriction from time, basically time immemorial. That's basically what happened. And then after we beat them, get the book Slave Revolt. I tell people all the time, get the book Slave Revolt behind Brazil. After we beat them, we put the prisoners, they put them on long-term concentration camps, which was the tobacco plantations up in the north, up in Edom, and then the other ones in Elam, and excuse me, Elam, and then the other ones down, the black ones down in the south, and then they was running the cotton and all that. And then we put the white ones to monitor the white slaves, to monitor the black ones, and then put the in the south, and then put the black ones to monitor the white ones in the north. You see? So when it goes down and they start fighting, they tell the ones in the north, the white castratos, they like, we're going to free the Freemasonic African ones that's down there. And then once we get down there, we'll all group together, and then we'll shut down all of the kingdoms, all of New Granada and all of that, because they already messed up from the New Madrid earthquake. So this is the best time. They weak. And they did that. And some of us turned tails with them and unified with them to do that. That's why eventually New Granada wind up falling to about this much. And then the ones that left here wind up going up here into the islands, and then set up what we call Grenada, which is why the only island in the north that the U.S. invaded other than Cuba was what? On Grenada. Was Grenada. The same country was the only country, the first and only country to post the UFO on their stamps and all of that, based on the ancient Moabite priestess that allegedly was on the island at the time. But again, that's legend, and that's old stuff that, I would talk about if we was in person. But this is what's really going on, man. We are Moors, and they're tripping, they're bugging. They're saying they're descended from these people. All of these people, they say, are descended from Lucy, the first African. So that's why DNA is, it's whack, but then it's also good, because legally they can't lie about it neither. Because you could always find out. And this is the type of stuff that they was doing out here. This is what is all promoted on TV. Cannibalism is promoted on TV now, isn't it? Am I lying? This is what they're promoting. They've made it normal. Drew Barrymore has a whole show about eating people. And it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So then in Article 23, look, Italy renounces all right and title to the Italian territorial permission of Africa, i.e. Africa. Now, this is speaking of what at the time, what Africa represented to Italy, which was Libya, Eritrea, Italy, Italian, and Somaliland, which is Somalia. See, they didn't even change the name like that. Like, how you got your own country and you're going to still use an English name to justify it? Because these crackers, they didn't want to sit there and have to say native names and all that. So, no, you niggas going to just keep using English, keep using French. You know what I'm saying? And they did it. So they could say what they want, man. They slaughtered their own people, just like us. That's why I'm saying, don't hate us. For years, everybody been bashing. The African been bashing us. The white people been bashing us. The women, the church Freemason men, the old women. Everybody been bashing us, yo. Everybody. the Aboriginals, like the prophet established that. The prophet is the first one on record saying, when a European guy here, he seen Moors up and down the Mississippi River, that the Moors, or he laid out the dimensions of where it was at. No, that it was plagiarized by Eliphas Levi. Really? Eliphas Levi was a Freemason whose patent clerk or one of these niggas most likely swiped the shit, and they was able to swipe the draft and then try to put it out beforehand, the same way that what's his name, Crowley, did to him. But these niggas don't read. They go by what everything is what the white man's telling them, man. You know what I'm saying? So right here it says it. They renounce it. Look, the final disposal of the whatever shall be determined jointly by the governments of the Soviet Union, of the United Kingdom, and the United States of America, and of France within 1 year from the carrying in forgot in the present treaty, in the manner laid down in the joint declaration in February 1947. So this basically says all these countries involved are all of the countries that were co-signers to the establishment and the upholdment of the Spanish land grants that verified and protected the ancient land rights of the descendants of the original, and can be enforced by the surrender of the Treaty of Granada, by which all the other treaties come out of. We could do a cross dissection of that and we could prove it. But we don't need to do that. They already know. Like I said, they're not the problem at this point. They are the end result of what happens when we ancestrally stop identifying ourselves for what we are and try to adopt other identities that do not belong to us. Period. It has nothing to do with that. Like, I've seen pictures that I've used or had or whatever for years just pop up one day. You did? But I didn't create the picture. You know what I'm saying? So when stuff like that happens, it's almost like a mitzvah. It's almost like, okay, this is actually the universe now bringing forth that which I've already, understood. Napoleon and them was envious. He was envious of Toussaint. He was envious of the Moors because, again, he was a Corsican slave. But because his father, his grandfather was a Moor, he was granted certain privileges and was able to be molded and used to be able to bring down Habsburg. And once Habsburg fell, that basically brought down what eventually the fall of England and then Germany. You know what I'm saying? Everything was just a wrap. So over here, all the Haitians basically got expelled. And so they became French Acadians or Haitians, or went up to Nova Scotia, the Scotians. They were the ones that fought to blow up and stop the. Some of them fought with the Royal Ethiopian Army, or the Royal Ethiopian Army under Britain, to burn up the first White House and all that. So all of this is retold to us in fake history and drama that has nothing to do with what actually happened and how we can actually acquire and shut all of that down today. Blessings to the Moor that sent me this. One second, guys. Yeah. So they do things, like I said, to mock us. So they'll make Aladdin, you know what I'm saying? Because they know we've been out here representing so hard. They gotta get it. But what they also don't get is that it links us visually, genetically, then to the aesthetic of wanting to be pleased. Not only wanting to serve or getting something out of us, but also wanting to be in the presence or the feeling of magic. And that magic comes from the wisdom that we, as Moors, naturally emit because we're focused and we're not creating boundaries in our minds to stop ourselves from acknowledging the greatness of our people. We're just clarifying the fact that we're not that. The same way if somebody from Africa, if somebody came and told them that they were American, you see, and they tried to argue them down and all that, knowing damn well they came from, excuse me, if a person from Somalia came and then they tried to argue them down that they're from Detroit, you understand? Africans will laugh them off out the country or out from out the village or whatever. But when it comes to us, we just gotta accept what everybody say about us and go along with it and get the reparations and all of that. That's a wish. It's for genies. That's for the jinn. This is to celebrate Dajjal. It says that Medina can't be entered when Dajjal comes. And when Dajjal comes, but he can't enter Medina. So what he's going to do is try to decimate Medina and then bring everybody to have to come up to the mountain and live in the palace under him. And then he becomes the ushering in for the Antichrist or his demon. And then eventually he fall. But essentially that's all going down right now in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabian throne and assign that over to the United States. It's like one big union. When you saw Trump and the Saudi dude and the other dude and them holding the globe with their hands on it with the world, that's them creating the union, the confederation, to perpetuate the unification of Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States, to then become the mega state linked to then overthrow or get rid of the Vatican and then basically rule in its stead. So it's a grab. But inshallah, somebody sent me this, and inside this book, the term Muslim, this is in the Native American place names of the United States. This is a Native American, which is an Algonquin, Delaware word, Muslim. And then it says, of an unclear derivation. So you don't know what the word Muslim means? Or Muslim? They say in ancient Kemet, it was Mesrem. But again, it's banked in Misraim. You know what I'm saying? So all of this extra stuff that you see them going back and forth and wanting to fake call people out and all of that, like all of that, you know what I'm saying? It's like whatever, man. Like think what you want. You know what I'm saying? Like these dudes are so young. Like some of these, you understand that some of these people that you watching wasn't even born, and that's not to say that you can't have wisdom with youth, but what you don't have is experience, and that's the thing. Like in the John Wick movie, the Asian killer dude, he was trying too hard. That's why John was like, "Nah, you're not like me," because he killing people. When he killed people, if you notice, he always was killing people to go up. Like he would cut them up. You know what I'm saying? Cut them up and then bring them down. John, he wouldn't do that. He would you know what I'm saying? He would just buck niggas, but he would do them with, it was always pointed down, bringing them down to the ground. It never looked like he really wanted to do it. But according to one of these things, it said that these reports I read said that he done killed more people in his movies than Jason, Freddy, and Michael combined. Like in all their movies, like that's a lot of killing. But it goes by so fast. So you know, I don't know. Like what is that with just the billion scenes of people getting their head blown open that you didn't see in the course of your life? This is what they expect us to believe is real. Like this is how it's supposed to be, and all of that is theater. The real world that they're dealing with the fake, it's the same thing. because the same people, they use the same production studios, the same thing. The mob, they're all working together. It's the same thing. They're all together. So if it's all corrupt, if it's all identifiably related to denationalizing you, keeping you in a state of peonage, which is illegal. That's like keeping somebody in a perpetual state of torture. You can't do that. Look, this is what they did. So when we say that we was original already and what we was already, look, this is their own stuff. This is their own book saying this. See that? An act to reclassify coloreds as American Indians by Thomasina Jordan, Indian Tribes of the Virginia Tradition Recognition Act, hearing before the Committee of the Indian Affairs, United States Senate of 107th Congress, 178, build and destroy, breaking them down. To extend the federal recognition of the Chickahominy Tribe, the Chickahominy Indian Tribe, Eastern Division of the Upper Manitoba Tribe, Rappahannock Tribe, Monacan Tribe. All these was all Moors. Nanasaman Tribe. So what makes you an Indian is not your relationship to the original Moors, but your acknowledgement that the United States federal recognition is what makes you an Indian. And their recognition is based on how close to white people you are. That's why one time they could legally keep black people out. But because Aboriginal people have no direct line descent, they are only that by name. Therefore, they are still stateless. Therefore, they're not anything. But we, as it states, this is from a book, Morocco as It Is, as we go down to show and prove, we've always been here, as we've been saying. It says, ever since the episode, it says that ever since this episode, the Swanee men have been protected by the English consulate. The servants and grooms of the legation of the attaches are always recruited from this village. The Swanee men and the Moorish Americans. This book is beginning 1800s or middle 1800s. Moorish American being used. I regret to say they get along very badly. They are continually at strife, fighting as to whether or not England or America is most powerful nation on the earth. When 4 years ago the Queen presented the Sultan with a huge elephant, the Swanee men were delighted. The American villages proportionally depressed. However, they soon learned it was the American consulate that the Sultan of America, Islam, you understand? The Sultan of America was about to send the Sultan Muley Hassan an animal so large that the elephant would seem in comparison to him but insignificant insect. The vague rumor gradually assumed the form of carried weight in the official announcement of the next American embassy. Therefore, we've attached Moorish Americans to Moors, Moors to Moorish Americans, and we've attached that there was a Sultan of America who was the antithesis of the Sultan of so-called Africa or whatever nation, and he had an elephant bigger than the one that he gave Elizabeth, which again shows the correlation between all. And on the right, we have the proof that the act to reclassify coloreds as American Indian, you see, is them, one, acknowledging them as American Indian, but acknowledging them under their guidelines as to what an American Indian is. So that may mean that federal recognition is you start off like this and we give you bread, but over the years you got to use this to lighten up. You understand? But that type of talk is not given to the rest of the tribe. That's going on with the type of people who making the grip deals. You know what I'm saying? The handshakes with the hand over the grip. Them type of people. So, I don't know what these people talking about. We've been here. Because if the Spanish got here, stuff was already here for them, and the French got here and it was already here for them, And the United States people got here and was already here for them. And then we got here and was already here for us. That means it goes back to us. Because we're the ones who the Sultan of America provided for. Not them. And we know we're them because we have gone to the extent of declaring that. Therefore, if you say that I'm anything else, you're an automatic violation of what you said that you did uphold. Therefore, you automatically fall into default by any action other than compliance. That's how it has to be taken. And because we're Carthaginians, we're also ancient Romans. Therefore, it has to be like that. That's why Halle Berry had two dogs in the movie for Romulus and Remus. But she ruled the Continental. But in every country, the Continental has the same name. Who's that? That's us. Who's walking around with silver in their pockets? That's us. Nobody else is doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like we're making it hard for ourselves at this point. Therefore, my suggestion is, again, what it always is: get your situation straight, establish your residency, making sure everything is cool, get everything together, rip up in a proper manner, and know the BS from what they're purporting, because what they're showing is not anything to do with the reality of what's going on. So that means these nations here and these treaties and all of that was ceded, we all the descendants of these people. There's no way you could have exported all of these people. All you did was move them, rename them, and move white people in, Mongolians in. They let them live in the houses and stuff. And then you lived over them as police. And this practice is the very practice of every war that's being practiced today. And it's been happening since 1492. Therefore, being that it is now, 1438 to us, what they call 2019, they have, or 1439, either one, because they have done that. What we have done now is just expose the fact that nobody on the planet that really is here now are the people that were here when we were doing, whatever we was doing. Meaning, like, nobody was really here but us at one point. Therefore, we can't look at our DNA and who we are as any of those people. Meaning that if you are diabetic and I am not, and you provide me with medicine that has a certain thing for diabetic people and I am not diabetic, it could kill me, right? So if I have melanin in me and that melanin absorbs light, but the same melanin actually kills you, but you only create medicine that's based upon your bio DNA, what is it going to do to me? I remember when there was no pharmaceutical commercials at all. But what we can prove without a doubt is the people who are the ancient Phoenicians, the ancient Carthaginians, the ancient so-called Tartarians, the ancient who will say culminate here with the Etruscan, the ancient Southeast Asian, Southeast Indian, Asiatic, see what I'm saying? The ancient Iberian, English, Frankish, Spanish bloodline, understand? All of these beings are melanated. And with the exception of her, but even with her, all of these beings share a lineage representing the line of Moors that they descend from. Sancho just happened to be Christian. There would be no Ferdinand and Isabel without Sancho, but nobody talk about Sancho because Sancho looked like Larry Fishburne with a beard. you know. But he was a Christian. He's the one that had them eating pork and all that. But he was a great warrior, great tactician. So what do you know? The Dravidian people, you know, that's the ancient Mauryan Chandragupta. You know they ain't gonna let them try to come up with no real knowledge of self. That's where the Thuggee came from. That's why they were so scared, or they used the Thuggee for the mind control, or they were so scared we was using it or whatever, because of the thug thing. Because the Thuggee was all about cutting the heads off of the British hierarchy and putting them on the hands of Kali Yuga as tribute. The same Kali Yuga you see in John Wick 2 when he's putting his thumbprint in the book that they all pray to. The goddess of death, that's the Shiva that you see at CERN. It's all the same ritual. They don't create nothing. It's the same thing over and over. So there would be no Romans, there'll be no Greeks, no Macedonians, no nothing without the Phoenicians and all these people. They were Carthaginians. Those Carthaginians were Canaanites. Those Canaanites, you already know, Moabites, all that. All the people were Moors. That's it. The prophet put the stamp on it, codified it, made it work, and then put it on us. Each one of us must proclaim our own nationality, and after you do that, you're supposed to, protect and do what you need to do for the temple. Some people do it before, some people do it after. However you do it, it's great. Everybody want to be a diplomat. Everybody want to be able to think. Thing is, we don't even need passports. We don't even need none of that. We don't even need none of it. But at the same time, it's good to have it. You see? That's the thing. You can have what you want. You just got to know what you're doing. A diplomatic agent in international law is a general name for all classes of persons charged with negotiation, transaction, superintendency of diplomatic purposes of one nation for the court of another. But see, when you have an ill and bay at the end of your name on whatever documentation, you are automatically turned into that. That's why the prophet said you'll know how the card changed in your pocket. Your name, your classification, how you went about doing it. What you did is what makes it what it is. What these niggas want to do is have the white man give them something and say, see, this is what you are, you're national, so they can come and they can hold it up, say, see, this is what it is. And that, anytime that comes into play, you got the question. Because these ones wasn't doing that. What these ones was doing was writing the treaties without the white people and none of these people even being there. Then sending somebody to give them the treaty and tell them what they're going to do. That's the type of diplomacy I'm trying to get to. These niggas don't know how to do that because everything they're doing is based on a defensive posture. Therefore, according to the Hagakure, which is the book of leaves or the book of falling leaves, they are automatically creating their downfall by accepting their ultimate victory. You see what I'm saying? Our ultimate victory is assured, but it is not going to be given. It's going to be won or taken. Niggas ain't ready to take yet. So what they got to do is that. They not ready for this yet. But this is inevitable. This is what I was talking about in the last video, is what it is. This is the thing that you see when you go to sleep. This is what it all is coming down to. And this is what we're all plugged into, no matter what color, what race, what nationality we are. The differences that we have in terms of genetics and things like that is minuscule when it comes to the greater scheme of the macrocosm. And anybody tell you different is crazy. However, if I'm confronted with a rabid dog every day before I get out in the world to do what I gotta do Allah's work, then I gotta deal with the dog first before I go out and do that. Niggas that's trying to get around the dog and jump around the dog and make friends with the dog, that's the problem. Dogs don't respect that. Dogs respect yelling or beating or training. This is training. The prophet taught us how to train. And that's what these niggas don't like. Nobody taught them how to do that. Doc tried to do it. Doc at the end told them they was Moors. Now they turning their back on it. That's what I'm saying. These niggas is just, it's whatever. But that's why he's still in there. Wrong or right. And I'm not even singling him out. That's just what happens in this community. And I'm supposed to just think that that's what they got a better plan for me? No. I don't care what their plan is. I know what my plans are. and who those plans are with. Outside of that, can't rely on media to sustain you. It's not real. This is realer than that. These niggas just talking about, you know what I'm saying? How many times they mispronounced this dude's name at his funeral? At his funeral? You flubbing lines at the funeral? That's how much disrespect they got for alleged, people who is his so-called majesty to them. So why would I expect niggas to be opposite? So we're going to close with this to let people know, again, the Moor's been here. When we say Berber, we saying Bambara, Bedouin, Bayin, Baya, Bayanu, Bayat Il, all of that is the same thing. When we saying Ray, we saying Bay. So, I forget what book this is from. So many damn books. Afro-American Muslims. I had some dude say that the other day too. Like, yeah, we're Afro-Americans. It's like, what? Like, people still even call themselves that? You were Afro-American? Wow. Then everybody else saying that everybody is Russian bots and agents. Half these niggas is the funding they think is coming from the U.S. is actually coming from Russia, which might be true. I wouldn't know. Because when niggas was talking shit like that, I was out. And they wasn't even talking that. They was talking basic shit, like WWF shit. But with this smoke, this fire. So it says here from a letter from King Philip. Said King Philip, following passages from the Muslim immigration to Spanish America. That's the America we just seen. Also, you have tasked us to be aware that there are Moors in the land. Island. See that? Meaning Moors in the island who come, Haitians, you know what I'm saying? Moors from Cubanacan, which we call Cuba. Right? Also, you have asked to be aware that there are Moors in the island, in the island, who come to buy and sell, who impede the preaching of the holy gospel. That you give concern, we authorize you to make slave of such Moors and to confiscate their property. See that? You are advised that if such Moors are Moors by nationality and by birth, and have come to teach their Muslim faith, or at war against you or the Indians who are subject to us in our royal service, you have the power to make them slaves. You see how declared and how direct they are with their language? Because it's a fine line of the control they had of the time. You understand? They wasn't running nothing like they make theyself doing. All that killing and all that cutting hands off, a lot of that shit was actually happening to them. And they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell us that. They're not going to publicize the wins. You got to find them. So that would be somebody like us that see a slave or somebody that's walking, that's brain dead or whatever. And then, we start building, and it just comes into that. And I say brain dead meaning knowledge of self. Because people be smart, but they just be smart in that. Like I read the word degree means to step down, to devolve. You know what I'm saying? So if you get a master's degree, what are they saying? Then you got to go in debt behind that? Like this the type of hell we in, bro. So allegedly, it says the nationality by birth and have come to teach their Muslim faith. See the sector. Because we at war with them. We at war with them and any Indians that's trying to be here and holding up what they trying to do. You understand? And them people was the what you call it type of Indian, the one I showed you, the Aboriginal type. Excuse me, the native type. Excuse me, Mongol type. They was the ones working with the Spanish. They interbred with them first. They was all banging on us. And then we was banging on them and those of us that was helping them. Again, which means that there was a certain secting of people who was subject to them, and there was people that wasn't. That's why there's that township. So many different Moors from so many different regions, from so many different things. You don't know what you can't run all of them. No, they want you to destroy yourself. They want us to pop off the race war. That's why they keep doing the extreme stuff. They want us to do it. Set it off. That's what these things is about. They want us to do it, so that way they have the justification. The longer we endure, the more we withstand, the less they can withdraw. They can endure, because the world will turn against them. So as we close, it says, "But those who are Indians and have embraced the faith of Mohammed, you shall not enslave by any means whatsoever. Rather, you should try to convert them or persuade them with good, licit means in embrace of the Holy Catholic faith." Moriscos were Moors converted to Christianity, not those who remained true to Islam. The term was later applied to Moors generally. Islam, therefore, the Moriscos were the ones who agreed to it, which was why they were the ones who became tainted, because they started eating pork, but then there was some of them that worked against them. So that means if the Moor was there and we was teaching him knowledge of self, and then he decided that he wanted to be a Moor and claim Islam, they can't stop him from doing that, and they can't enslave him for doing it. But if they catch us teaching him Islam to do that, we would be in violation of the treaty and then would be locked up. That's how the old world worked. This is where the Freemasonry came in. This is how it was passed on to them. You see what I'm saying? This is why you not the one that was passed on to. You the one that was doing the passing. That's why niggas get into that in any type of manner, that ritual that emulates anything that them people is doing, any names that they using. I mean, even the so-called Egyptian ones. All of that is fake. All of that shit is Babylon. And I just showed you, Babylon is where New York and all of that is now. But they fooled you. They built the Babylon archway in Hollywood and made us think that's what it is. No. Because that Hollywood actually started here in Florida. There's too many murders and too many little kids and women and babies turning up missing in connections with the so-called Dixie Mafia with Disney and the rest of these niggas. They had to hightail it out of here. So that's it. Anybody else have any questions? And like I said, on top of that, their birth rate is 0 and they dying. That's where the laws from Georgia and all of that is coming from. That's why the Bible is becoming such a big thing. That's why you need to know aspects of it in conjunction with the Circle 7, because that, again, is laying out your dominion and how we're supposed to be running and stuff. We not subject to none of that. We're the ones that it was written to represent. They read it about us. Everybody can read it and follow it and make it what they want, but it was written about the people who are that today. There's the kingdom of Israel. That's gone. Dig what I'm saying? That's never coming back. So anybody saying that the kingdom of Israel would have to leave, according to the ancient laws, they would have to provide the head of a Philistine. Who's a Philistine today? You don't know. So let's stop talking about that. Then you need to have a Levite priest. Then you need to have at least 12 elders with you with that. These niggas is not doing that, because the ones that's doing that today, they're all Freemasons. So that's fake. So that's that. Then you got the children of Israel. That's us. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the nation of Israel. That's these them people over there doing what they doing, killing all them babies and all that stuff. Them people, the Mossad, them MI6, CIA, all of that's the same thing. They're all crypto Jews. They're all crypto Jesuits. They're all crypto Freemasons. They're all crypto Shriners. They're all that. They're all of it at the same time. That's why they're crazy. You trying to label them like they're whatever ritual they're at. That's what we're not getting. Nobody's in control. The AI is in control of it all right now. That's why you can program what you want with it. Program every time you drink some water. Every time you pick up a glass of water. You try to drink water out of glasses from now on. Drink water out the glass. Tell yourself, every time you drink the water, I'm becoming a better person. You know, something really positive about yourself, something you love about yourself, something you love about the world, something you love about Allah, something positive. And then drink it. Do that every time you drink water. It works better when you drink it out of glass, though. Do that every time and mean it. No matter how bad you feel, no matter how whatever, and do that. That's prayer. That's remembrance of Allah. It says remembrance of Allah is worth more than prayer. That's you in tuning with your higher self. That's what Allah is. That's why it's the arm, leg, arm, head. It's the all law. That's the God that we're all following. That's the mind that we're all in. That never ends. That's it. But nobody wants to accept it's that simple. So keep it simple. Do what you need to do for you. Establish your situation. Link with those that know what they're doing. And start boycotting anything that's contradictory to what you think. Who says that's a wrong thing to do? Who says you need to debate your opinion? Who's saying that right now? CNN? Fox? That's the man. That's the police. So anybody saying I need to sit there amongst people and go over what my ideas publicly are and try to prove them over yours is an agent or an entertainer. You understand? It's that simple now. It's not anything personal against anybody or anything. For it to be personal, for me to have an opinion, I would have to be personally involved in anything that's happening in any type of sphere like that, and I don't. So if you give life to that, then the entity, or you become a suction cup on the tentacle of the octopus that's running the whole thing. You are what you contribute to. That's where we're at now. These places, like I said, are all New Granada. All of this is where we left when it got too hectic. We left up there and came up here, set up all these ancient towns. And then once the New Madrid earthquake came in here, it epicentered and destroyed mad stuff. And then the Mamluk slaves out of Washington, which was really what Washington would be here, right? Which is really what? Was that Krypton? Washington is Washington, D.C. on this map. Y'all see it? If you see it, tell me what it is before we close out. Shanghai. That's on the left or the right? I get new glasses. Oh, here you go. Yep. Ceylon. Yep. Right here. Ceylon. Shanghai. Britain. Britain. Isn't the United States a part of Britain? Yes. Yes, this is what happened. That's why they had to pay them money. This is Britain right here. That's why London was founded after 1800. That place was in London. The Queen got to get permission to go there. That's new. Yeah, it says Shanghai here. It says Britain right here. And then it says Ceylon right here. I think Ceylon is in the Bible too. Right above Cologne. So yeah, this is what's going on. We already here. So when you claim to be from Morocco, who's to say that you don't have people from Illinois. How they gonna tell you that? The people you have from Illinois is the Moors. Is the Moor Science Temple of America. We get adopted into that. Moab. So don't let them fool you. Thank you guys for coming through. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, I did know the name of Maryland. I believe it was Narragansett, but that was actually the land, not the people. But I did know. I don't know. I'll find out and let you know. I read one of the old treaties or something. But yeah, all them people is Moors. All of Islam. Thank you, Noble. Thank you, Noble. Thank you, Islam. You see what I'm saying? That's why you need a community of Moors that know. That's why we know. We know stuff. The elder told me one time, he said, look, if a Mo don't know, don't nobody know. And it's true. And it's true. Find a Moor that don't know nothing. Even when they don't know nothing, they know something. But niggas, they don't know nothing. A nigga don't know nothing. But even a dirty Moor will be sharper with the sword than clean Moors a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? That's why you gotta just be as right as you can, as righteous as you can, as much as you can. That's all you can really do. Because we're all screwed, man. You know what I'm saying? Until we get it together for real, we all, you know what I'm saying? And we doing that. We're doing that. But people don't believe this. People watch me and they think I'm just, oh yeah, it's just this nigga's just crazy. This Moors is cool, man. Believe that. Believe that. Believe that. Because I have nothing to gain other than building with people who see the same stuff. So we all can't be having the same delusion because it's working in real time for me. That's the thing. The African thing didn't work for me. The Negro thing didn't work for me. The being out in the street and all that, it didn't work. The Moorish American thing should start working. So they can say what they want about whatever they want. The Moors I know, they all doing pretty good. Or as good as they can be, which is saying a lot in 2018. Where women like, not to be petty, but women like Alicia Curry just destroying it. And then up until now, I didn't even know she was like claimed to be black like that. I didn't even know that niggas was accepting her like that or them like that. But the elder told me too. He said a Moor will pick up a Klan uniform for $50 from the laundry for a Klan member for $50. He said a dirty Moor pick up you pick up the dry cleaning for the Grand Wizard for $50. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you gotta just be happy too, man. Don't let these niggas take your joy. You wrapped up in shit that's not even real. Because half these niggas is paid for by the government. And they don't even believe the shit they talk about. So, long live the empire. Love everybody. Thank you guys for the support. Sending that to dukeoftears@gmail.com. And you can hit me up at houseofel@hotmail.com. Peace.